Hello. Welcome everyone to the stream. Welcome to the Code Vengers UI workshop. I hope I'm visible. Let me know in the comments. Am I visible? All just give me a moment. All All right, let's start now. Welcome to the stream, everyone. Welcome to Code Vengers UI workshop. I'm Meet Bhanushali, and I'm going to be the instructor today. Let's start in a few minutes. So, before we start, I want to address a few things. Thank you, Code Vengers, for giving me this amazing opportunity, and feel free to ask any doubts during the live stream. Audio and video all good, guys. I hope audio is good and it's crisp and clear. And I hope there's not much of green spill from my green screen as well. So before we start, I want to say a few things. So what is this workshop about? So it's about user interface and not it's about user interface and not about user experience. So UI and UX are two completely different things. So what UI basically means is user interface, which is a proof of concept, which means how your project or how your product is going to look when it launches in market. And user experience is what the end consumer is going to have in his hand, or what the end consumer is going to experience. That's UX. So user interface design and app design are two completely different things. User interface is just how your app or website is going to look like, and not the actual website. To create the actual website, you have to know some basic coding, and you can do it with WordPress, or you can use Wix for graphical user interface, or you can use the classic old HTML and CSS. All right. So before we start, feel free to comment any doubts you have. I'll address all the comments, and feel free to spam Binod if you have a terrible sense of humor. I don't care. So let's start. So let's start. So this is the UI or user interface of Adobe XD. Today we are going to use Adobe XD. You can also use Figma if your hardware doesn't Adobe XD. Figma is exactly the same as Adobe XD, but it's a light version of Adobe XD and it's completely free. The benefit of using Adobe XD is all your documents and all your work is stored in cloud, so you can access it without having to use your internal storage or your hard drive storage. So that's the basic reason I'm using Adobe XD. You can use Figma as well if you want. So what we are going to create today is, we are going to create a mock Apple store, and the reason I've selected Apple as a brand to create the mock store is Apple is very famous for its solid and compact UI and its simple UI. So we are going to create this. I'll quickly demonstrate what we are going to create today if you haven't seen the videos which were posted on the group. So there are a few basic animations in this, and there are various prototyping tools used. This basically covers every tool which XD has to provide. So this is what we are going to create. and then there's this cool cap closing animation for charging, and go to the home page or the landing page is basically what you'll see when you click. This is what we are going to create, and it's quite simple. It's not that difficult to create. You just have to practice and practice and get your UI skills intact. So I'm going to give you 5 or 6 basic tips, 5 or 6 basic tips which will help you getting started. So the first tip is font. It's very important to use proper fonts when you are creating a UI. If suppose you are creating some luxury brand, so you have to use thin and skinny fonts like this one. And there are 4 font families. I want you guys to research on your own what those families are. So I'll give you a few points during this journey, and a few fonts which are my personal favorite and I use all the time. So let's get started with creating this page. So we'll open a new document. Now here you get many options to choose from. You can make an app, or you can make a website or Twitter post, or custom design if you want to build an app or website for older desktops or older screen sizes. So when you are creating a website, always use 1366 resolution, but we are going to use 1920 for this particular tutorial. The reason why we use 1366 is it's most versatile resolution when it comes to desktop or screen sizes. So if you are using the 1366 resolution, your content won't get washed away, or your content won't be cut when it's being viewed on a smaller screen. For now we are going to use 1920 because that's the resolution a YouTube video supports. So let's create a 1920 page. Now this is the basic artboard which you'll see, and every component or every object which we are going to place and which is going to be a part of the website is going to be on this and not the gray area. The gray area won't be visible once you, okay, are there any? Not yet. Okay, cool. So the gray area is basically for reference, like you can create a color palette there, or you can place certain objects if you want to use them later. So gray area won't be visible in your actual prototype. All right. So let's start. So let's click on this, and here we can fill color, or we can keep it transparent. I'm going to keep it white for now, and we can also import components in this. Now what's the difference between components and objects? I'll come to that later. For now, let's go to the resources I have here. So if you were aware, and if you have seen the prototype video which was sent and I showed you a few minutes ago. So the first animation was of this Apple MacBook Pro. So let's create it first. I have just dragged the image, and this is a PNG image. What a PNG image basically means is it has a transparent background. So that's the main difference between a PNG and a JPEG image, or as we call it, rasterized images. So let's resize it, and we'll keep it in center for now. Now we need one more screen or one more artboard. So you can click on this tool, artboard tool, or you can press A, which is the shortcut for the artboard tool. Now to duplicate this, okay, one thing, all the shortcuts I'm using here, all the shortcuts I'm going to mention are for Windows and not for Mac. But if you are using Mac, you just have to replace the control key with command key. For example, if you want to create a component, the Windows shortcut is control K and the Mac shortcut is command key. So I'm going to press Control D to duplicate this and place it over here. Now we want it a bit smaller, and we want the zoom out effect on it. So there are two basic windows in Adobe XD. One is this, the design window, and one is the prototype window. So design is the basic front end or what it's going to look like. This is where you design all the stuff, and the prototype window is where you link all the stuff and where you create animations or small basic functionalities for your prototype. So let's go to the design window again. Now we are going to create a zoom out effect in this, as you might have seen in the prototype video. So to do that, let's go to the prototype window, and you'll see a small arrow here, and you can connect the thread to the second slide or second artboard. And here you get a lot of options to choose from when it comes to animations, and there are triggers too. So you can use the tab trigger or drag or keys and gamepad or voice assist. So I'm going to use keys I'm going to use the down key to trigger this animation. The type of animation we'll choose here is auto animate, ease out. Also, we want to go back to the previous slide, so we'll have to attach this thread here, and again I'll use the up arrow key, auto animate, ease out works. Now if you can see this, that's how easy it is, and this is our first basic animation. So I'm giving you a few seconds to comment all the doubts you have, because there's a 8 to 10 seconds lag in YouTube live. So I'll get your comments after like 8 seconds. Okay, let's continue. So this was our first basic animation. Now we want to create a navigation bar on the home page. So to do that, we can use the drawing tools in the design tab. So these are basic drawing tools which you might have seen in Paint or Adobe Photoshop, or if you are used to Illustrator, you already know what these tools are. This is the pen tool, which is used to basically draw random objects or asymmetrical objects if you want. And this is the rectangle tool, ellipse tool, and triangle tool. So let's get the rectangle tool here, and we don't want any border here, and let's keep it black. Let's drag the Apple logo here. Use the text tool to mark all the products that we are going to sell. So this one is MacBook Air, one's MacBook Air. Let's it white. Only we have to AirPods. iPhone SE. Now Adobe XD will help you arrange it or sort it in a symmetrical way. So if we keep it at this distance, Adobe will assist you to keep the same distance between all the components or text. and we want more text which support. Okay. Now we have to use the navigation bar again and again, but we don't want to create it every time we want to use it. So we can make this whole thing a component. We Now how we can make it a component is select everything by holding shift and press Ctrl K to make it a component. Now if you go to the asset library, you can see a component one. So let's rename it nav bar. It's always a good practice to name things as you go, because the prototype gets very complicated as we reach the end. Now we can duplicate the whole nav bar and place it here. That's how simple it is. Now let's create another artboard for that. Now let's create another artboard for the AirPods, and let's write here. Let's make it black for, and we'll write AirPods over here. And all the fonts I'm using are the default fonts which you get with the Apple libraries. And if you are using Adobe XD on Mac, then you already have this fonts. If you are not using Mac computer, then I'll post a link to all these fonts, and these are the basic Apple fonts. All right, so now let's import our pods, case, and cap. So to apply the scroll function, there was one doubt. Can you insert the search button in middle of nav bar? Yes, we can if you want. Now this is just a prototype, so this is obviously not going to give you the search functionality, but if you want me to put the search button, so hold shift and make a circle with the ellipse tool, and let's keep the border white. We don't want to fill it. We don't want to fill it, so it's just going to be a ring, small ring. And we can create a small line here to make it look like a magnifying glass. Border and size we want 3 pixel. The border we want it to be white. So here's your search button, but it obviously won't do anything because we are not coding it to do anything. So to add search functionality, you have to use JavaScript if you are using the classic way of building a website, which is vanilla JS, and using HTML, CSS, that sort of. So now let's jump in. Okay, so let's explore a new function here. Now, what if we don't want to use keys to navigate through slides, and what if we want to scroll our way through content? So, how you can do it is you can either expand it vertically or you can expand it horizontally. So, for now, we are going to expand it vertically. Let's make it a bit more. Now, this is the case, this is the cap, and these are the AirPods. So we want the airports to slide in when we are scrolling down into the case. So how we are going to do it is by a functionality or by a function called fix position when scrolling. So if we click on this and we hit the play button and see, you can see that this airport thingy, airport object isn't moving anywhere as we scroll. It's holding its place, right? So we just wanted that, and now let's make these two a component. We'll press Ctrl K on Windows and Command K on Mac. So this is a component now, and we want the AirPods to be sandwiched between the case and the cap, so that it's beneath the case and above the cap. So how we can do it is by jumping in the layers tab, and let's not make it a component right now, and we can sandwich it between the case and the cap. So cap goes below the case and AirPods stays here. So now if we play it, you can see that's what we wanted, but it's going way too far. We don't want that, so we'll adjust our scroll length. Okay, this looks perfect. This much scroll length is perfect in my opinion. Now, if you had noticed, the cap was shutting down when we hovered over it. So how we can achieve that is by using the hover animation. Now there are two basic types of animation when it comes to Adobe XD. The one is where you switch between slides or artboards using the normal animation tool in the prototyping window, and the second option is making an object a component, and you can select or you can attain two states for a component. The first one is default state and the second one is hover state. So the default state, just a sec. So the default state is what you'll see on the landing page, and the hover stage or hover state is what you'll see when you hover your mouse over it. Now let's make it a component. Let's make the case a component as well. So if we click on, okay, so this is the default state as you can see, and we can add one more state, which is the hover state. Now this hover state is what it will look like when we hover our mouse over it. So let's drag it, and be careful that you have selected the hover state or it will be edited in the default state. So we'll drag it, hover state, font. We want our case to be the hover state. All right, so we can resize it by double clicking on it, and we resize it to normal case size and it over here. So this is the hover state, and that was a default state. So if we, so this is how it works. Let's move the hover. Okay, now let's keep it in the default state. Whenever you are going to present your prototype, always be careful that you keep every component in the default state, or else the animations won't work. So let's delete it. We don't want this here. Now if we play this, you can see the app pods fit in very snug and nice. And if we hover over it, That's how the hover animation works. So we have covered both ways of animations till now, which was the advanced part. Everything else is quite simple, and now we have to create an artboard for the iPhone. So we'll press A or select the artboard tool from the toolbar and resize it and make it black. Now let's place our iPhone here. Okay, just give me a moment. I'll have to search where's my. So we've got our iPhone image. Also, this is an independent stream, so I'm going to promote myself shamelessly. You can follow me on YouTube. My YouTube channel name is Usai Otaku, where I do gaming and I create parodies and stuff. I'm also a stand-up comedian if that interests you. So let's place our iPhone here. Let's place it in the center. And now we want some random text over it. But first, let's fix its position and we can drag the iPhone SE logo. And let's fix its position as well. Now when scroll it shouldn't move, it's not moving perfect. Now we want some text over it. Let's put some random words which Apple uses, light speed. And, um, Now, here's the designing tip I was talking about, which I was going to give you throughout the tutorial. So, never use bold text beneath a catch line or a catchphrase. So, light full stop speed is the catchphrase which Apple uses. So, never use another bold text below it. So, let's make it bold. Right, now it's looking better. So never use two similar types of text when you are addressing a catchphrase and the pricing or anything or any piece of information below it. One should be bold and one should be normal. So let's place it in center. Okay, now let's see how this. Okay, we should alter the scroll length a bit and we'll do it by dragging this up. Okay, this. Okay, perfect. Now, if you see light speed and starting from here, if you see the rupees text, rupees 49999, it's not very visible because of the colorful background or because of the colorful screen this iPhone has. So we want to blur it a little bit. So there are two ways of blurring it. One is obviously the blur tool, which you find here. Now if we create this and we don't want any border and we don't want to, let's fill it with black. So there are two ways to blur background. The one is obviously background blur, which you can use it, or the second is object blur. But for this tutorial we are not using to use that because it blurs the object a lot, so we don't want that much blur, so we'll reduce the opacity. This is not exactly blur, we call it fading. So this is how you can fade the object, and we'll place it below our text. Now if we play it, so as you can see this line, this is not the most perfect way to blur background obviously, but it is what it is for this tutorial, so it works for now. Later you can jump into, or you can explore more advanced ways of blurring the background using Adobe XD. So this is how we are going to blur it right now. As you can see now, the roof is a lot more visible, but I still don't like it. Okay, now as you can see, the rupees is a lot more visible than before. So that's what we want. The main thing, or the main source of UI designing, is clarity and simplification of our product. It should be as simple as possible for the end user, and it shouldn't be very complicated, like the product's logo or the product motive which we are promoting should be very clear. Okay, can you insert a search button in middle of nav bar? In the end, can you please teach us how to do freelancing as a UI designer? Of course. And we are not using any plugins, and there are plugins available to convert the whole thing into HTML or CSS, but it's not very convenient. I won't suggest using Adobe XD to convert your whole project into HTML CSS because it won't fit together. When you try to animate it using JavaScript, it won't fit together. You have to do it manually. All right. Okay, no more doubts. All right, so let's move. Now we have to create this support page, but before we do that, let's copy all the text. And we can move it from one Adobe worksheet to another, but I'm just going to copy the text for now. Again, this is bold, so the text below it is going to be normal. Let's make it light. Box. We want this. Now let's go to prototyping and connect everything. Like all of our slides and all of our artboards are almost ready. Here, right, starting from one kidney. Make it, and let's make it bold. Okay, works. Now we'll go to the prototype tab and we'll have to connect everything. So this prototypes looks solid and this works like a real website, and this is just a proof of concept. Again, this is not the CSS and HTML page. You can't host this on internet. This is just the prototype. You see, we can make it an independent component. The AirPods, let's ungroup component. We can connect the AirPods tab here. Can connect the iPhone SE thread here. We can do the same thing with this ungroup component, iPhone SE tab here, and we don't want the action to be auto animate, we want it to be transition. Let's make the triggers tab. We don't want to assign any keys to this. Hit tab, transition, tab, transition. We have to build the support page. We have get early tab. Let's connect this thread to the airport slide. Hit tap and transition. Okay, perfect. So now if we look at our prototype in the prototype window, you can see there are, if we click on AirPods, goes like this looks almost perfect, but there's one small thing remaining. We haven't added the back functionality. We can't go back. We can obviously go back using the keyboard, using the arrow keys. Adobe XD allows us to do that, but we don't want to do that. So we'll copy this application in this. Now what if we want to go back to the home page? So let's move this airport text here and let's place. Okay, perfect. Now if we go to the prototype tab, spread it to the landing page. Now we can go back. Similarly, we want this Apple. Okay, it's already there, so let's delete. Ungroup this whole component again. Ungroup this whole component again, and let's add this here. Now this UI is almost complete. If we go to AirPods, you can see works. If we click on the Apple logo, we can go back to the landing page like this. If we go to iPhone SE, animation works, and if we go and press on the Apple logo, it goes back. And now we have to create the support page. So to create the support page, let's first go to design, press A and create another artboard. Now we want this component, so we'll select everything manually. Also the Apple logo, Control D, and we'll place it on this artboard, put it in the center. Now we are on the support tab, so it shouldn't be clickable, and how you make it clear and how you denote it that you are already on this page and you cannot click on it is by changing the color and making it lighter or darker according to the background color. So we are going to make this a bit lighter according to the black color in background, so we'll make it gray. So now the users know that we are already on the support page and we cannot go on the support page. Let's place an image over here. Let's use this image, and this is nowhere related to the brand Apple, but this is what I could find. So let's below everything and see. And now to create the support bar, we can create a rectangle. Now this tool is somewhat new for Photoshop users but not for Illustrator users. If you have used Adobe Illustrator, you know that you can curve the edges like this. You can just click it and drag to curve the edges. So let's drag it all the way, and we don't want any border on this. And we want some text over it, which is search support. So this is done. Now let's link everything again in the prototype tab, support, and we'll drag it and place the head over here. And Apple button to the landing page, MacBook page, iPhone. Yeah. So now our complete site is ready. If we click on Airport, animation is working. Page iPhone SE, animation is working. Home page, support. We can go back here. This support is obviously a gimmick and it doesn't work because you have to code it to make it work. Yeah, everything works. So now what we'll do is I'll take you through some of the websites with best UI, and we'll discuss it in detail why these UIs are ahead of time and why we should take inspiration from them. So any doubts regarding this, we let's take 5 minutes to clear all the doubts, or if you want to ask anything. That was a big sip, lol. अरे ब्रो, मैं पंखे के बिना बैठा हूँ यहाँ पे, माइक में पंखे का नॉइज आएगा इसलिए, सो गेट वेरी थर्स्टी. ओके, एनी डाउट्स? I don't think you guys have any doubts. How many are watching? 69. Nice number. Can you please repeat the animation? Which animation? The AirPods one, the MacBook one, or the iPhone one? Okay, so now I'll quickly show you guys some of the best websites. So let's go. Greta. Greta Thunberg has one of the best websites available on internet currently for some reason. Okay, AirPods one. All right, I'll show you the process again. So this website is one of the best user interface ever made in my opinion. If you want, you can check it out on your PC, laptop, or mobile, whatever device you are using right now. It's called the yearofgreta.com. We can drag it like this, and this is how it works. Like whatever Greta does doesn't interest me that much, but this UI is definitely great. Like when you hover on it, it goes from black and white to color, and you can scroll, and the Greta statue just grows in size. It's really great in my opinion. So if you observe, you can see that the logo is very small here. So in comparison to the logo, like the logo doesn't seek that much attention. So logo doesn't attract people that much. So there's this huge Greta Thunberg text behind her statue, so that we know this website belongs to Greta Thunberg. So that's what you have to do when you are designing a proper UI or a better UI in comparison to the mediocre ones. So two things that you can keep in mind is fonts. Never use bold and bold, or normal and normal, or underlined and underlined together. The heading should be bold, and every form of information should never be bold. Any form of information should never be bold. Similarly, if you are making the logo smaller, then your information text has to be bigger, has to be huge. Love the website and the work as well. Right, that's a nice excuse to skip school in my. So this is one of the best UIs I've come across. There's another one. I'll leave it in the description, or I'll leave it in the group chat if you want to visit websites with good UI. So let's look at one of my other projects. Now this website UI is completely opposite of what we have made. The Apple UI and Apple website targets a more luxury type of audience and more posh type of crowd. So fonts and images, everything was equally balanced and nothing was going beyond the border. And this website is completely opposite. This is an urban sports website. They sell skateboards and sweatshirts, hoverboards and sneakers, accessories for skating. So I'll quickly demonstrate how this thing looks. So if we click on shop, this thing pops up and you can see when we hover over it, moves. And if we scroll down, always this is one more tip from my side, always use scroll over buttons, because pressing button is some kind of commitment and users don't usually like to press buttons when they are visiting the website for the first time. Like you have 7 seconds to grab all the attention of a user, so your landing page has to your landing page your landing page should have good animations, should have the best animations of your whole website. It should be on the landing page. You have to grab your users or your customers attention in 7 seconds. So never expect them to press buttons on the landing page. Always keep a scroll functionality, and if possible, if you have good coders on your team, then try to implement infinite scroll, which gets information from the web, or you can develop some machine learning code to implement infinite scroll. So infinite scrolls are very addictive, and addiction of user is what the company targets, what every company targets. They want their user to get addicted to using their website or using their product or using their service. So infinite scroll is a good way to make it addictive. And other thing you can do is lots and lots of animations. So in this, if you see, my shop text changes color when I hover over it, and it's going beyond the border. Like this shop text is going beyond the border, and the P is not exactly in the frame. So that's what we can do if you are targeting an adventurous type of website, or if you are targeting a company with more sporty feel. So that's what you can do. And these skateboards and about. So as you can see, about is also going beyond the border. We are a Bombay-based urban culture brand trying to promote freestyle sports in India. And if we click on this, we'll go back to the top. This is another animation you can add. This one is you can find this one in scroll animations. If you want, you can visit my YouTube channel, and I'll post a tutorial to this as well. And if we go to shop, about and contact, now if we go to shop again and we press on skateboards, so here's a small animation of two flowers. And these are two completely different things, like urban sports and floral design. So that's what you can do. You can add contrast to your design with two exactly opposite things. Urban sports doesn't complement florals that much, but I've still used it, and it gives a more independent vibe to your complete user interface. Now if we click on shop, now there's one more scroll animation, and if we click on some skateboard to buy it, if we click on this, then you can see the buy button also has a small hover animation. So this was basically an urban sports website, and it was more independent of nature than the Apple website. So if you want, I'll post the complete tutorial to build this on my YouTube channel and you can visit it. So if you have any questions, you can ask now. Is there any kind of way to extract code behind the scenes in Adobe XD? If you want graphical user interface, then what you can do is create the whole website on Wix and use inspect element thing to copy the whole HTML code, and then you can paste it and add the images manually in your directory. That's what you can do. I'm not sure about Adobe XD. What Adobe XD does is basically it gives you an output in either PNG format or vector image. So you cannot extract code from this. As I've already told you, this is not the actual website. This is what it is going to look like. So if you are an engineering student, or if you are doing anything that requires you to be creative, you should definitely learn at least basics of UI designing, because if you get an idea someday and if you want to pitch it in front of investors, or if you want to get crowdfunding, so there they don't expect you to have the actual product ready in your hand, because if you have the product ready in your hand, then you will sell it on your own. So what they expect is proof of concept, and if you have an idea and you want to go further with, then you can use user interface designing and design a proof of concept and then grab investments like that. So that's why knowing basics of user interface is very important in my opinion. Skateboards has amazing flash look. Can you clarify where you want to link social media? Huh? Good. Okay, any more doubts? Please repeat the AirPod animation. Okay, I'll repeat the AirPod animation before ending this session. So let's we'll create a new artboard for the AirPods design. So first things first, we want the AirPods to slide in the case when we scroll down. So for that, we'll increase the length of our artboard. Now we'll place the AirPods here, and we want them to scroll in the case. We want them to scroll down and slide in the case. So we'll fix position of AirPods while scrolling, and we want them to slide in this case. Okay, so we'll place the case here and we'll place the case cap over here. Now we want the AirPods inside the case, so it should be below the case and above the cap, so the AirPods would be sandwiched between the case and the cap. So how we can achieve it is by the layers tab, and we can move the case above everything, and we'll move the AirPods between the case and the cap. So now when we drag it down, you can see it's above the cap and below the case. Now let's place it on page. So now if we see it's working, we don't want it to go beyond the case. So if you see it's working, and do you want me to demonstrate the hover animation too again? Okay, it's working. creating this animation in real would be quite difficult. No, it won't be. It's not that difficult if you create it with HTML and CSS. I've created this exact animation using advanced CSS, and believe me, it's not that difficult. Like there are basic functions to fix position while scrolling in HTML too. So it's not that difficult. This particular animation is not that difficult, but there are many other animations which are quite difficult to achieve using vanilla JS. So if you are going by the classic way of creating a website, then other animation types might be a bit difficult, but that's not the concern of a UI designer. So you have to have a team if you want to build solid websites. You can't do everything on your own. Okay, so let's end this session here. Thank you for joining, and you can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram ID is meet me to meet. And thank you very much, Code Vengers, for this amazing opportunity. And you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post gaming videos there, and I post my stand-up bits there as well. And I'm going to create another channel for Adobe XD tutorials. So if you want an in-depth tutorial of the other website I showed you, or if you want to make a rip-off of the Greta Thunberg website with me, then I'll post it there as well. So thank you very much for joining. Bye bye.